A big weekend coming up in the Nutmeg State for fans of the U.S. Navy, for fans of nuclear-powered submarines, for fans of christening said subs named after the Gem State. The USS Idaho, the U.S. Navy's newest Virginia-class submarine, will be formally christened Saturday at a shipyard in Connecticut. This has been a ceremony 9 years in the making. After a drought of nearly 80 years, this will be the fifth naval vessel to bear the name Idaho. And as we mentioned yesterday, those are just a handful of several connections landlocked Idaho has with the U.S. Navy. One other takes us to a naval training center, now submarine research center, in the Panhandle, and to today's 208 Redial.
The mountains, the lake, the small town charm. Modern-day Sandpoint, Idaho is a sophisticated community surrounded by nature's blessings. But its heritage dates back centuries. Like so much of the West, these lands were originally home to Native Americans.
There is documented evidence of the Kalispel Indians living in this area for at least 6,000 years. They were known to be very friendly. They welcomed the early fur traders into the area and helped them.
Ann Ferguson is curator at the Bonner County Historical Museum. She says the Kalispel Indians were also known as the canoe people because of the unusual design of their boats.
This sturgeon nose type of canoe is the type of canoe that is only known here and in the Amur River Valley of Siberia. That blunt nose sat down in the water and increased the stability of the canoe, possibly during storms and other rough water.
Perhaps the area's connection to water convinced the U.S. Navy to navigate its way to Lake Pend Oreille.
World War II delivered one of the most surprising milestones in Sandpoint's history. At the far end of Lake Pend Oreille, the Farragut Naval Training Station was built in 1941. In just 9 months, local crews helped construct nearly 800 buildings on 4,000 acres of land.
Farragut really changed Sandpoint because at that time there weren't that many jobs in Sandpoint.
During the war, 300,000 Navy recruits made their way through Farragut, briefly making it Idaho's largest city.
After the war, Farragut found itself without a purpose and was decommissioned in 1946. But that didn't mean the Navy distanced itself from North Idaho.
There's no doubt about it. This is one of the prettiest spots in Idaho, but it's not just about looks. This lake has an incredibly important function. It is so deep, so quiet, and so cold that the Navy says it makes for a perfect testing ground on submarines.
This is the only place in the U.S. that the Navy does this type of testing.
Using scaled-down models of submarines, this acoustic research detachment on Lake Pend Oreille is in charge of making military vessels as undetectable as possible.
Our whole purpose in life is to create exactly the quietest submarine possible. And so we're interested in any part of that submarine that would make noise.
On the surface, they don't look like sophisticated machines, but Commander Kevin Grundy says looks simply don't matter.
Take, for instance, this model here. You look at it and you go, with the exception of the rudder down at the end there and sort of the main shape, you'd say, well, that doesn't really look like a submarine, and it doesn't really have to look like a submarine.
What's important, he says, is what's happening on the inside.
This is modeled after it's a quarter scale of a real submarine, but internally the structure is like what a full-scale submarine would be.
Once a week, a sub is sent into the testing portion of the lake, which is about the size of a football stadium. There, the water reaches depths of 1,150 feet and has a constant temperature of 39 degrees.
So what you have is a nice, big, deep, cold bathtub of non-moving water. But really, the one thing that really makes it ideal is it's just so quiet. There isn't anything in the lake that's making noise. In fact, anybody out here with even a small upward motor makes more noise than our tests do.
The multi-million-dollar models are equipped with hydrophones, the underwater equivalent of a microphone. Once submerged, computers turn on the submarine's motors and pumps and then feed data back to the engineers and scientists on land. They analyze the information and determine how much noise is being generated. Commander Grundy says decades of research are paying off.
You know, the shape and structures that are out there today are the quietest they possibly can be.
And all of that technology that they used or discovered and researched up there is what they're using on today's submarines. It's pretty impressive. And that was former KTVB reporter Allison Newton. Those stories were from when KTVB would do a live tour of Idaho. Usually would happen in the springtime, and we would travel around the state finding cool stories.